Welcome to Scrollin', a podcast about the Elder Scrolls Online. I'm Ket.
I'm Davius.
And this is episode number 31. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll just start out talking about what we've been doing this week, which honestly for me, I haven't played a lot this week because, as I've said in past episodes, I'm in the process of moving and transitioning to a new job. And so there's just a lot of stuff involved with that I've been busy with. And I've also had company from out of town this week on top of all that. So I've only played just a little bit this week. And what little bit I have played, I've spent in Imperial City with you, Davius.
Yep. There was some panic within the goons. You look on there and you don't see a couple day timer on the Ket. And you go, what's going on here?
These AOE tests have gone too far. Ket's out.
What have they done to him?
Yeah, no, it's nothing like that. It's just other stuff going on, and I mean, I fully plan to, once I'm through getting all settled into the new situation, it's going to be back to business as usual for sure. I'm fully addicted to the Elder Scrolls Online.
Nobody worry, we're both very unhealthily addicted to this game. It's
yeah,
we've accepted it.
I just accept it. Yeah, exactly. It's just the reality that I live in.
Happy addiction.
Yeah, it's the happy kind of addiction, those kind. But Imperial City has been fun. What I realized is with the event going on, we always tend to go on like a Friday or a Saturday night, and all of our Imperial City stories are like, oh yeah, we just keep getting flattened over and over and over again by these Zergs. But we went last night, which was a Thursday night, and actually had a really nice time.
Yeah, that last night was really good on group size, fight size. We were outnumbered, but we had a lot of good fights.
Yeah, it was that sweet spot. Like we want outnumbered situations. I think that's kind of what we're looking for because it's like we like that challenge. But yeah, on that prime time during an event, it's too outnumbered. It's way over the top, and it's hardly anything you can do. But yeah, like Thursday night, there was like a good number of people. Like things were really active. It was really easy to find action. And when we did find action, it was manageable. Like we didn't necessarily win every fight, but every fight was a decent fight.
Yeah, I feel like we put up a really good fight on almost every fight we were in. Exactly what you were saying. It was quality fights. Kind of the outnumber numbers we're looking for is if there's two of us. We're looking to fight 5, 7 people. Not 25, that makes it a little trickier if it's 25 people at once. And there's even some fights that I think it was above 10, but they were not, on top of each other focusing. And so we were able to kind of pick off some and, some would back up, some would go forward. So even those fights went pretty well. Yeah.
You were on that stamCro build. It's all like focused on two-hander abilities.
Yep.
And you've been talking about this build a little bit about how he's really hitting really hard these days. And like as you're talking about this character in past episodes, I'm sitting here thinking like, oh yeah, it sounds like he hits pretty hard. But then like seeing this dude in action last night, it's just like there's like these moments where I'm like, oh my god, that dude just freaking died.
That character's been a lot of fun. He's before all these recent changes, where I did the Sword Singer and the, I have the Ring of the Wild Hunt on him. Before those changes, he was my hardest hitting character. We talked about that, but now it's like top 3. He's 1, 2, and 3 of my hardest hitting characters. He is
your second hardest hitting character is actually number 4 because that guy takes up all 3.
That guy is that high up there. He. He's a lot of fun. I usually don't make characters that are that hard hitting. Usually I get stressed out if I'm sacrificing too many other things. But, we kind of talk about it that the Daring Corsair, which is his other 5-piece set, it just works so beautifully on him that I can sacrifice other things because all those abilities are getting, a 10% cost reduction. That I was just really able, on him, I'm just really able to stack up that weapon damage.
And it gives you that ulti gen that you're always wanting to have in pretty much all your builds as well. So you're not having to sacrifice that either.
Zos is just starting to make sets for me. That's what I've decided. These Ultigen sets. We'll just throw one out for Davius every now and then.
I just remember seeing a couple of times last night, like you'll queue up a Blast Bones and then you'll go start smacking people with a couple of Dizzies, and by the time that Blast Bones gets to them, man, it's just they're just a pile of dust on the ground.
We actually kind of discovered, you were on your Necro, your magCro, Despair.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of discovered a pretty nasty little duo there.
That was a pretty mean combo, absolutely. Because my magCro is a healer, like a straight support healer, and your stamCro, like we were just talking about, just brings a lot of damage. And my magCro healer, if I do say so myself, is OP, dude.
I was just about to say that the most beautiful part of the combo, obviously the healer is so big, but your magCro has so much amazing CC. I was going to say just like awful CC, for that's how the other player feels it, but as an ally, I mean, you can just see the people. It's like they're running through mud the whole fight. They're just dealing with so much stuff. And that was such a sweet combo. I mean, because like you said, I just had a hard hitting character, and so they were dealing with all this CC, and it was like you were just lining them up for me on a chopping block.
Oh yeah, it was so much fun, dude. It's such an abusive healer because she has tons of heals. Like the heals are very, very strong. Just the heals alone, the build is very good. And then the CC, dude. So it's that remote totem with the wall of frost. And man, you just lay those two things on top of each other, and just nobody wants to deal with that, And so there were moments when we were really facing off against like 10 or more players at a time, and we were hanging in there for a while. Like we hung in there for several minutes while like backup showed up, and then we ended up being victorious in the end. It's largely because you do enough damage to take out people kind of pretty quickly, and then we had all these heals and all this crowd control to just make we were in control pretty much the whole time.
One of my favorite moments from the fights last night was, and it wasn't even like overall what I would say is our best fight. It just was a moment that when I kind of realized like how hilarious the CC going on is that we were inside a building, and it was one of the buildings that didn't have a roof on it, so you could really see us all the way in the building, and you could see outside because there's no roof on it, and there was probably 10 enemies around us just circling this building, but they wouldn't come inside. You were laying down so much CC in the building, they were just kind of circling and nobody was coming inside, so we were just kind of hanging out inside there for several minutes. It was just cracking me up.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. People do not like dealing with that totem and the wall of frost, man. That combo, you just own that piece of ground, man. And anyone who does try to walk through that and tries to brave through it, they're probably going to regret it, most likely. And it's a charged. My ice staff has the charged trait, which increases your chance to apply the status effect, and it uses a frost glyph. So it's guaranteed. Pretty much anyone who touches that wall of frost is going to get that chilled status effect. They're going to get immobilized and do less damage.
Yeah, it was working out very well.
I've been thinking about right now that build is I spec a whole lot into healing done rather than spell damage. Because in the end you'll get more healing out of healing done than specking into spell damage. I'm toying with the idea of maybe flipping that and trying to spec into spell damage so I can actually do a little bit of extra damage as well. My heals will be sacrificed a bit, but I think they'll still be kind of strong. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not, but it's just an idea I'm toying with.
Yeah,
in my head.
I mean the heals on that build are, like you're saying, they're OP. That was a huge part to it. It's just a really cool build because the heals are happening, but they're kind of, I don't know, they seem in the background because you're doing so much CC, and you're throwing out a blast bone, so you still are getting pressure on them, and it just kind of seems like this healer build that the heals are just kind of, it's like those you can just count on. They're happening in the background while all this other additional stuff is happening. It works out really well.
Yeah, it's that spirit, man, that intensive mender, dude. That's what it is. Like, I'm just making sure that dude is active all the time, and that pretty much frees me up to just kind of do whatever else. As long as that dude's active, we're covered, because that thing is so powerful. With CP, that dude is tossing out like 10k heals. Well, that's what the tooltip is anyway.
So I was gonna say, we should have mentioned there's 3 of us. The two of us and your Mender.
Yeah, that honestly, yeah, it's like an honorary party member, honestly, because it does such a strong heal, and it's a smart heal. It's just looking out whoever is low on health. Boom, just basically just an automatic breath of life, and you can do that every 2 seconds. It costs very very little to summon that, less than 1,000. If you're like with all the passives and everything that the Necromancer has, it's basically, it may as well just be free to cast, honestly.
Yeah. That's a combo that we are going to have to use more often. That was the first time that we really paired them up, and that
Worked
turned out to be
well.
really fun.
Yeah, it really did. I've also been playing support builds. Like I've also been on my Magicka Warden, which is also a healer, but she actually has a pretty good offensive kit as well. So she kind of does a little bit of both, but she's mostly a healer. And I have this setup going right now that's a lot of automatic cleansing. I'm using Curse Eater. That's an automatic cleanse every 8 seconds when you direct heal yourself or someone else. And then, of course, she has the Betting Etch, which gives yourself an automatic cleanse every 5 seconds. So those two things kind of together, like you have an automatic cleanse every 8 seconds and then another one every 5 seconds, or on yourself at least. I basically don't ever have any negative status effects. I was fighting this stamDK. It was a straight up dot build, and it was like a CP 810, someone who had done some PvP before. And he would apply all of his dots to me, all these like fracture and all this stuff. I would have it for a couple of seconds, and it's all gone. Like all that pressure just disappears. And of course, I have my heals over time going, so my health bar just kind of dips down just barely, and then goes right back up to 100%. And I wasn't even fighting back. I was just casting my hots, and everything was just kind of getting auto cleansed. And the dude just gave up, walked away.
Like, noped out. Yeah. I call this your anti-venomous smite build. That's it's anytime I'm running with this character, it's like everybody stopped using venomous smite all of a sudden. Like it became not near as popular, and it's just because even when people are casting on you, it's just getting cleansed so quickly that you really you just don't see it anymore.
Yeah, I do not see it on that character. Like it's seriously like everyone just suddenly stopped using that set. It looks like
which is the dream, right?
Oh yeah. Which it may be a combo of that, and maybe people really are using it less because a bunch of proc sets got buffed this patch. So maybe that's just not the everyone's favorite now. It might be a combo of those things, maybe.
I still see it in Battlegrounds. I haven't seen it in Imperial City as much, but there's a lot more people in Imperial City, I feel like.
Battlegrounds seems to be the best place for that because you can arrow spray a group of people, potentially put that on all of them, and it's all overlapping on each other as well. So you can really wipe out a group with that thing. It's great for Battlegrounds. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe we've just been in Imperial City so much, and it's not as useful there. Could be.
Yeah, I actually. Obviously the Imperial City events going on. The majority of my time has been in Imperial City this week. Obviously, with the event, it makes it a lot more fun.
Get those key frags. That's Telvar.
Yep. And there's been some good fights. There's been some bad fights.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I with the event going on, the last thing I had to do to my Stamplar was do the Tri-Stack glyphs, and I got the Tri-Stack glyphs, so I finished my Stamplar build out. I feel pretty good about it. The biggest reminder when I haven't played my Stamplar in a while and then playing it again is that, man, Jabs is just the best spammable in this game. It's just there's
except not in Cyrodiil this week, but
except in Cyrodiil this week. That's the one exception,
or probably the next couple of weeks even.
Man, but I just forget how good Jabs is. You play all these other characters, and it's just. That is a great spammable.
That's great. You get spoiled to it, especially dealing with Nightblades. I feel like I especially love it against Nightblades.
Yeah, there's nothing they can do. They just keep trying to cloak, and it's like, nope, I can get you.
There's nothing the bad ones can do. The good ones know to always slot snare removal so you can get out of it, and they just have a little bit of movement speed. That's really all you have to do is just be able to keep moving, and you can get out of it. Any Nightblades out there that are struggling with Templars. Get you some snare removal, get a little movement speed in your build. That's how you deal with it.
And I've paired it with Celine's. I'm using the monster set Celine's, and that Celine's with that Jabs is just it's a really really nice match. Both about the same range. Celine's, it's gotten some recent buffs, a little bit quicker time, and they actually buffed the damage on it. And I've been doing some battlegrounds with that build. I haven't really. I was in Imperial City before I did the glyphs, and so I was farming just because Stamplars are such a great Telvar farming build.
Mhm.
But the fights that I was down in there weren't really going great just because I wouldn't finish with the build. But when I finished it, I did some battlegrounds. Felt good about it.
Nice, dude. Yeah, love Stamplar. Obviously, I mean, Stamplar is my very favorite.
Yeah. I will say the one thing that I really wanted to switch the jewelry to Swift, but I'm kind of having a struggle with max stats. I wasn't able to transmute them to Swift because I really don't have the max stats to sacrifice to do it.
Hmm.
Uh, both my jewelry rings are healthy right now, and I think in no CP battleground I'm running about 24k health, 24k stamina. And if I transmute those from health, that's a lot of health I'm going to be losing. So I'm still trying to tinker to figure out how I can get more speed on it. But I am
You got to
running
get
7.
another Wild Hunt ring. Got to get another one.
I seriously think that might be the answer.
But then you'd be getting rid of Celine's and be losing
I
a lot of
know.
damage.
I do love that Celine's. It's I was surprised by the damage that build was throwing out. Maybe I'll replace 7th Legion.
Mhm.
I keep telling myself, you read 7th Legion, it's a great set, gives you health recovery, buffs your damage. But, it's just one of those gut feelings. Like, I'm not having fun with 7th Legion on there. So maybe I'll figure something out and throw another Wild Hunt on there and swap out that 7th Legion for some three or four piece set.
Like 3 trainee or something like that.
Yeah, something where I can get that. And, hopefully I can make up that weapon damage from 7th Legion. I just don't, and you'll know this for sure with your Stamplar. They're kind of like, at least the way that you play Stamplar, which is kind of the way that I've modeled my Stamplar, is it's kind of like Stamsork Light.
Sure.
So
Yeah,
it's
Stamp
like
Circ
you
without
want to,
streak.
yeah. So it's like you want to be moving, bouncing around, throw out a jabs, and then keep moving. And that 7th Legion, I just don't like how it locks me into every 15 seconds. I have to remember to cast my armor buff, and I've always got my armor buff up, but if I throw my armor buff up early, or if I'm got some free time I'm running, I want to throw it up. I just don't like how it's like a hard buff that it's every 15 seconds, and you can't kind of really keep it up.
Yeah, my issue with it, which may be part of your issue, is that you can't refresh the buff early. Like 15
Exactly.
seconds is not a problem at all. If I can just, okay, well, I have a few seconds free right now at 9 seconds, so maybe I
Yes.
can just recast it now and just refresh that buff now while I have the time. But you don't have that option. You have to wait for it to run out and then recast your armor buff.
Yeah.
That's what's
That's
annoying
exactly.
about it.
Yeah. That's exactly my issue. I feel like it really takes the flow of my of what I'm trying to do out of it. It kind of is a hard stop to my comfortable flow with me casting my abilities. And so
Hmm.
I have it on there just because it is a great set. That buff is fantastic, and it gives you health recovery, which is really nice. Um, but I just I just don't like that hard 15-second.
Yeah, I think
Get
there
it
should
over
just
the
be
set.
no cooldown to that, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Or I'd even be okay if they lowered the cooldown because they just recently raised it to 15 seconds from 10 seconds, which is better. But I would be okay with it being 10 seconds again if I could refresh it, or even I may even be okay with less than 10 seconds. But anytime I cast my armor buff, let me get the buff again.
Right, yeah.
Um,
That's the
I
main
would,
thing. Honestly, I would probably use this on a build or two if it wasn't for that one thing. It really turns me off to it big time.
yeah. I have it, like I said, I have it on there, but I have been wanting to swap it out for something. And I might have to farm just another Ring of the Wild Hunt. That might be the answer um, that I end up doing.
Yeah, I have it on my Stamplar, and I do enjoy it a lot.
But yeah, I'll have to tinker with that. But other than that, I've really enjoyed the Stamplar. It's been really nice. Um,
Sweet.
it's been fun. It's had a good run in Battlegrounds for the first initial testing.
Heck yeah. Man, I'm going to have to get into some battlegrounds. Maybe next week. We should do We should do a BG report sometime soon. Maybe that'll be next week's episode. It's about that time. We're in a new patch and we haven't done one yet.
It would make sense for sure.
Yeah.
I've been kind of secretly impressed with how many battlegrounds we've been doing of late. You know, there was a long time there where we kind of just went full Imperial City and kind of stayed away from battlegrounds, but I feel like we've been hitting the battlegrounds pretty hard here the last couple of
when they
weeks.
got rid of the grouping, we were just really soured on it for a little while, I think, and we just couldn't deal with it. But it's like we need it though, you know, like we need battlegrounds. We can't stay away.
Yeah, we had passed our grief window. You know, we needed time to get over the breakup.
I don't know if I'm totally over it yet, but I'm over it enough to at least do some battlegrounds again. But man, it seriously is still my favorite thing to do in this game is battlegrounds in a pre-made group. It's so much fun, or at least duos. Honestly, duos were my favorite.
Yeah, I agree with that. Well, we were just talking the other night. We found this great, you know, how fun it was that we found this great necro combo in Imperial City, and we, you know, the first thing we were saying is, man, how fun would this be in in a group battleground?
Every time we play together, we end up saying that about like, oh, I'm going to play on this character. Sweet, I'm going to play on this character. Oh, dude, wouldn't this be sweet in a battleground? Too bad we can't do that ever again.
Can't do it.
Yeah. Honestly, that would be, though. My necro healer with your stamCro, that would be an amazing duo in a battleground.
Be fantastic. Yeah. And speaking of the stamCro, I was going to talk about this earlier, but I kind of forgot. You know, on my back bar, the other night was probably the most I've ever used my back bar ultimate in a while. But it was really good. I felt like it was working out really well. I have the Bone Goliath on my back bar ultimate.
Yeah. You were talking about last night in Imperial City, right?
Yeah, I feel like I got to give a shout out to that because that thing was working out. You know, in the outnumbered fights we were getting in with your heals, I feel like that ability was really coming in handy.
Oh yeah, you were like living in that form for a while.
It was working out really well. That guy hits hard enough that even in the Bone Goliath, you know, I switched that Bone Goliath form and just started hitting people. And it was working out really nice.
Nice. Speaking of stamCros, I'm working on my my stamCro bow build video. Of course, the build itself has been done for quite some time. In the video, under normal circumstances, it would already be done by now. But as I said in the beginning, I'm going through some changes in my life that's just keeping me busy right now. But I am working on it. It's almost done. So that build video will be up pretty soon. And that's a bow build. I'll just give you a reminder of kind of the gist of what the build is. It's what is it? It's 5 pieces sheer venom, 5 pieces venomous serpent, the Black Rose prison bow, and a potentate's two-hander on the back bar.
And nightmares for everybody else that goes against it.
Yeah, it is a build of nightmares, and it is actually really, really the bane of werewolves is really what it is, because it's nothing but poison damage, except blast bones, that's disease damage. But a werewolf, man, if I just like light attack weave my spammable at a werewolf a couple of times, they just melt right in front of me, which is fun because I always love focusing werewolves. It's like my favorite thing.
You've actually, I feel like I've caught that from you, is that now that I've watched you do it for so long, of when a werewolf pops out, you know, it's like, oh, get that werewolf, that now it's just naturally for me too. It's like, oh, there's a werewolf. Let's go. Here we go. Yeah. I know who we're going after. It
used to be kind of just like kind of a fun, just sort of like a silly role play thing in my head. Like, oh, I don't like werewolves. But now it's actually probably a good idea to focus the werewolf because they are so vicious right now. And if you don't nip that in the bud, it's going to become a problem. It may already be a problem, even if, even so. I mean, they are so vicious right now. And we were like lamenting werewolves not that long ago. We're like, man, isn't it so sad that werewolves are in such sad shape? Man, I tell you, I don't feel that way anymore. Not at all.
No, I do not pity werewolves anymore. That's a great point. It was not even, I mean, what was a month ago? I don't know. I don't know. Time is all messed up right now, but but yeah, man, I remember that. We were like, man, really, it'd be cool if they gave werewolves a buff. Gave them a fighting chance. And now when you see a werewolf, it strikes fear in you. You're like, oh geez, here it comes.
They are vicious, especially the players that really know how to play a werewolf, know how to build it well and work it, man. Like you see these werewolves that are like straight up 1vx, like a group of 20 players, a group of 20 decent players. Of course, they're using a lot of movement and line of sight and all that stuff, but man, these guys will hang in there forever and ever, and they do tons of damage. Um, I guess part of me, I am glad to see them in that kind of in that better spot that they're in. I wonder if they're just a little too strong now. I don't know.
Yeah, they there's some werewolf builds out there that they just stack those max stats, and then they go into werewolf form, and there's just, I mean, I've fought a couple, and it's just like there's nothing I can do against this guy. That he's just going to rock me.
Oh yeah,
like, I can't hurt him, and every hit he's landed on me is just devastating.
absolutely. There's one in particular that I can remember. I've told the story on this podcast before, but I was on one of my very best characters, and I was having a pretty good night as well. You know, like I was kind of good and warmed up and everything, and feeling good. And I was 1v1ing this guy, and it wasn't even close, man. It was not even close. He destroyed me. It was demoralizing.
Sapped all your hope away.
Yeah, like, all right, I'm gonna log off tonight, I guess.
It makes me wonder because a lot of the really, we've been in Imperial City a lot, and I've seen some werewolves in there that, like you said, they're just mowing through groups, and it makes me wonder because I've seen a lot of Imperial Physique right now. Obviously, is very popular, and it makes me wonder if some of these werewolves are wearing Imperial Physique.
Oh, I know some of them are.
I can't even imagine what that turns your max stats in. Imperial Physique, and then when you transform into werewolf, I mean, good Lord. I can only imagine what your max stats would be.
I've definitely seen werewolves wearing Imperial Physique, absolutely. So, I mean, that's definitely something people do.
It's a terrifying thought. I would love to wear Imperial Physique, but I'm not I'm not that Telvar rich.
Yeah. That's one reason I like playing with my stamCro bow poison build so much here lately, because there are a lot of werewolves these days, and they are super strong, and this is really the only character I have that actually poses a threat to them, honestly.
Yeah.
To the good ones, anyway.
Yeah, it's one tap poison damage.
So, is that pretty much it for you this week?
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm into. I was going to ask you, I know you've kind of finished up with your stamCro, and that's kind of your next build coming out, and then you've kind of I think probably your stamDen is kind of where you're leaning next, but I was going to kind of ask you where you're at on your theory crafting, like if you got any ideas cooking or anything going on.
Yeah, I think you're right on the money there. I think once I finish up this stamCro video, the next thing's going to be my Stamina Warden, Stamina Healer. And it's another bow on the front bar, two-hander on the back bar build, just like my stamCro. And that's a cool build. And that build actually is it's in a functional state right now, but I have a bit more tweaking to do. I think I can fit an arena weapon on the build. I just got to figure out which one I want it to be, and maybe fiddle around with a few other things. But I have that build pretty much locked in, aside from those things. And I'm very excited about that Stamina Healer. I just love the idea of it. And it's actually a pretty good healer, and he does a good amount of damage as well. Really, really fun build. So yeah, that's going to be fun.
Yeah. I've run around with that. It's impressive that it's powerful heals on a stamina character. That's a very Davius approved build. Like you have to double take. Like, wait, what just happened? What is this thing?
What about you? What's the next build or theory crafting thing that you're chewing on?
There's still the support werewolf build that I have to put together. I still got to grind the piece, some of the pieces. But actually, we did a couple runs of the new dungeons, and I actually got a pretty decent amount. It's really nice that both those sets are in the same dungeon, so I can just run the dungeon a lot and just get all the pieces needed.
Does that ever happen?
Wow. Yeah, I can't think of a time that any other time that's happened that both sets I'm running are in the same dungeon. So it's kind of weird. Yeah, it was kind of weird to see every drop is like, oh yeah, oh yeah, this is so. I built up pieces pretty quick for that, so I might have enough. I still got to level the character up. The other thing that I'm working on, and I talked about it last week too, is I switched my magCro into a stamCro, and I'm still not sold on this. I like the idea of the build. Something about the idea of having two stamCros seems odd to me, especially after I have had a lot of fun with my stamCro I just finished. I feel like he's working really well, and so I don't know. I feel like if I want to play with a stamCro, I'm going to play with that character. It's going to be hard to have two stamCros, if that makes sense.
Makes sense.
But I do like the idea. It's basically that idea that we kind of were talking about on one of the podcasts. It's It's a 5-piece Beekeeper, and then Troll Kings, and then pairing that with the Sword Dancer, where it's the dual wield ability buff. So you kind of get all the damage for the dual wield. You throw a spin to win on there with the rapid strikes. I like the idea of it with all that health recovery, and then on a stamNecro works really well because they have the spirit for damage reduction. So I haven't finished.
I was thinking
build.
about that, but my thought is like you couldn't do the dual wield set, but all the rest of it would work on a Magicka build as well. The health recovery thing, all of that.
That's true. Maybe I should just sub out the Sword Dancer for a Magicka build. I mean, that character is Magic and Stamina. I leveled up all his Stamina abilities, but that's probably what I should do. I need another Magicka character. It's getting bad. My main was a Magicka Templar healer, and I just have never found a good fit for another Magicka character. My Sork used to be a Mag Sork, switched him to a Stam Sork. Everybody knows that story if they've listened to any previous episodes. I do need another Magicka character.
magCros make such fun support builds because I think similar to Warden, they just have such a variety of skills to choose from. You can really make a unique build that's all yours, and it can be like really weird and out there because they just have, like I said, just a variety of skills to choose from to do lots of weird things.
I might have to look into that. There may be something there because, like you said, I could keep the Beekeepers and the Troll Kings still, and then I would just need to throw on another 5-piece set and make that Magicka. I originally was really excited about doing the Sword Dancer to give the dual wield buff, but once I actually put it on the character and kind of started testing, it is a lot of fun. But Sword Dancer, Sword Singer, I'm already getting that fun with Sword Singer, and so. That's kind of another thing is that it makes it very, very similar to my other Stam Sork. So I might have to do that. I will say this, and this is probably going to make me sound ridiculous or silly, but one of the big struggles I have with Magicka characters is that I don't. This is going to sound so ridiculous. I can just hear it coming out, but I don't like staffs. I don't like them. Like,
hey, I've heard other people say that. It's totally valid.
For the look of a character, stamina characters in my mind, I'm very OCD about the look of my characters. Like, I put way too much time. Like, I'm all about, the dies and the changing. And it's very difficult to make a character look good with stabs. They're just not near as cool as the stamina weapons. With stamina weapons, you can do swords, you can do, you can have all the different, you can sub out sword, mace, axe, two-handed, dual wield, bow. You have all these, even sword and shield. And then with a Magicka character, it's like, you better find a cool staff because that's all you've got. Like, there's nothing. I don't know. I think that's part of the struggle that like internally makes me partly avoid Magicka. Is that I don't like the idea that I'm gonna have to.
Don't like
you've got to run dual staff. Yeah.
Yeah, or you could do a sword and shield depending. But yeah, I get you there. I think also like your kind of aesthetic and how you design your characters. They tend to be kind of like real bulky, tanky kind of looking, and that doesn't really make sense if they're just carrying a stick around.
Doesn't work with the staff.
So you kind of if you're gonna have a staff and you want your character to look appropriate, you kind of have to go with a whole different aesthetic, really.
I'll have to find a way because now that I'm hearing you say it, I think there's a way that I could switch that build back to Magicka, still do the Beekeeper, still do the Troll King. And I just need to find a nice 5-piece Magicka set. The character is the Never-Ending Nord. That's half the reason that I'm bummed about this too, because I love the name. Maybe one of my favorite named characters. And so I've got to get this guy working. I feel like
you have to do justice to that name.
Yeah, I got to find a way. But with the Beekeepers and the Troll King, and if I do go Magicka, I'll definitely be a support build with some heals, so it'll kind of feed into the name a little bit. So. Maybe something there. I'll have to start scouting out some Magicka sets to see if there's one I can throw on there that will maybe it'll work for a possible.
What's the one that just buffs destruction staff abilities? That would be like the equivalent. Destruction mastery or whatever. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of that one either. But yeah, buffs, and that one actually got the 600 buff, where all your distraction staff abilities are buffed to 600. Yeah, As weird as it is, that one doesn't. It's going back to this.
That's
That one
that's
doesn't
the one
excite
you
me
don't
as
like.
much.
Okay.
That's the one that doesn't excite me as much. And I
Okay.
think that just goes into I'm not crazy about Destro staff abilities. I mean, they're good. Obviously, you just talked about Wall of Frost. That's an unbelievable ability. The spammable is good. I'm just not crazy about them for some reason. I'm not. I can't really put my finger on it, but that skill line has never been one that I've ever been like a huge fan of the abilities.
Yeah, they look kind of generic, I guess. Like the visual effects are
Yeah,
just kind of generic looking.
they're just not real exciting. It's not like a real exciting skill in there. Like, two handed. Anybody who's done a dizzy swing or an execute, like you can just
Feels
feel
good.
like, man, you can just feel the power behind that dual wield spin. There may not be a more fun ability out there. So
Now, I'll advocate for Force Pulse. I really like the way Force Pulse feels to like light attack weave and to like bar swap cancel. It's really snappy. It maybe doesn't look super cool, but just the way the animation
yeah, it's got a
feels
good
and
feel.
flows, it's really nice.
It's true. I may look into that. I may look into that set. I'm trying to think. What is a Magica Necro? What is their damage? Do they actually do magic damage?
They do like a combination, like fire damage and ice damage,
Just all over
and
the place.
I think it's a lot of just elemental damage. 'Cause yeah, like the your your minion, your damage minion, whatever that thing's called, deals lightning damage. I think the skull does fire damage. I think blast bones does fire damage. The graveyard AOE does frost damage. So yeah, it's just like kind of all over the place with elemental damage.
Yeah. See, and that's the other part that's tricky about that Destro staff set is that, if I do go Magica, it's got to be more of a support style build, and that's really going to hurt the support part of the build. I feel like because
Yeah, that's
it'll just be
true.
those Destro staffs.
So you'd be better off with actual just spell power.
Yeah.
So we actually had a patch this week, a live patch. We're on version 6.1.6. You can check that out on the forums if you want. It's a pretty small patch, but there were a couple of interesting things that happened. So first off, these rumored crit nerfs that we were talking about a few episodes ago, it's starting to happen. They're just starting to kind of dip their toe in that pool here. So the Precise trait and the Thief Mundus Stone were both nerfed just slightly. Precise has had its crit chance reduced from 8.6% down to 7.2%. And then the Thief Mundus has had its critical chance rating reduced from 1537, which is about 6.7%. I don't know why they do it this way. From 1537 down to 1,333, which is 5.8%. So 6.7, now 5.8% from the Thief Mundus. And I don't think that's counting with full divine, like full gold divines. I don't think. But at any rate, Precise and Thief getting nerfed, and they say they reduce these to the new standard of set bonus efficiency, and they're going to approach this more holistically later. So basically, this is just the beginning of the crit nerfs, more crit nerfs to come in the future.
Yeah, it seems interesting. It's obviously they're nerfs. They're not massive. Seems
It's like 1% or so.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it can add up if you've really got a true crit build. I could see where it might add up, but I don't know. It just maybe they've got bigger plans down the road. They reference that, so maybe there's something down the road where they're going to tinker. But
yeah, what's interesting is these were just buffed this last patch, I'm pretty sure. So that's that. The crit nerfs have begun. And then the only other thing that I thought was really noteworthy in this week's patch is that the Titanborn strength set was adjusted. I guess you could call it a nerf if you use it this way. So now you're only going to get the damage and penetration bonus based on your missing health while you're in combat. And they said they want to do that because that's going to help reduce the staggering amount of kill potential that this set can have when it's paired with stealth with stealth and self-damaging abilities such as Blood Frenzy or Blood Altar. And I've absolutely seen it before. I've been ganked before where
Mm-hmm.
I'll get a snipe followed by a Dawnbreaker, and I'm instantly dead. And then I look up, and it's this Nightblade with a fraction of health on his health bar. And I know, of course, he's using Titanborn Strength, and that's why that simple combo hits so very hard.
Yeah, I love this change. Very small change, but I love it because, you know, there's just, I don't know. There's no fun in that. I think that if it's just a gank, just a one-time gank. I don't know. I don't see. I think it's a good change. I'll put
Yeah, I'm happy with it. Absolutely, it's a good thing. And if you don't remember, anyone listening, this is the set where as you lose health, it just gives you more and more weapon damage and penetration, and it's a ton. I don't want to look it up right now, but I know that it's a lot of damage,
a whole bunch. Yeah.
And so yeah, you can just hang out in stealth, cast Blood Altar a whole bunch of times to get your health really really low, and then just like 1 or 2 shot gank someone easy. So definitely that's a good thing, and that's pretty much all the interesting stuff in the patch. Did you see anything else that you wanted to bring up?
Pretty small patch, you know, and obviously not, you know, all the massive changes already happened, but yeah, those are pretty much the two things that stood out to me as well.
So one other thing going on this week is we've started these Cyrodiil AOE tests. So it's not really part of the patch, but it's like it's happening right now. And gosh, what to say about this that we haven't already said? What's hilarious?
It's as brutal as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and what's hilarious about it is that this first week of testing is happening as the Imperial City event is happening. So there's just nobody in Cyrodiil to do this test right now.
It's just a bad, seemingly very bad timing. I mean, you have a massive debuff in Cyrodiil that, you know, for the most part, I would think most players, it's going to make combat less fun. It's for testing purposes.
The test itself is a deterrent from entering Cyrodiil.
Yeah, and then you have this great event going on Imperial City that's promoting people to go to Imperial City. It's just seems like the worst week ever for a test.
Yeah, I just feel like the data is not going to be super valuable. But honestly, I'm kind of okay with that because this first week of test, we don't even need to test, right? We know this sucks. We don't want this.
Yeah,
I would rather just keep the lag. Honestly, I would rather just keep the lag than do this.
We tested out a couple fights in this, and it was just like, it's just why even have abilities? You know.
Yeah, it's not like, and there was. I mean, you know, we tried to get in some fights, and we tried to actually like strategize around it. You know, like alter our builds and stuff, and.
Yep.
I mean, maybe we need more time, and we would be able to figure something out to be effective. But it was not fun, especially when you know how fun the combat in this game really is. You know?
Yeah, I'm just laughing because I'm thinking of even just, you know, a recent fight where, you know, we were fighting some people and we were outnumbered. And, you know, we started strategizing, getting some positioning going, and I was sitting there, and you were on a healer, and I was like, "Oh, heal me!" And you're like, "Dude, I can't. All my heals are on cooldown. There's
2
nothing
seconds,
I
buddy.
can do."
Hopefully, you're still alive in 2 seconds.
Oh man, it was just funny to think about. Like, oh well, this is unique.
Yeah, and so anyone who needs a reminder, the test happening in Cyrodiil this week is all of your AOE abilities share a 3-second cooldown. So you cast one AOE ability, and then all of your AOE abilities are on a 3-second cooldown. You can't cast any others for 3 seconds. So that's what's happening right now. And so we'll be having some more tests in the following weeks. And we've talked about these before, and most of them are the same as what they talked about before, but there's one new one. I'll just kind of go over these one more time. So that's what's happening this week. Next week, it's going to be individual AOE cooldowns. So no longer will they all be sharing a cooldown. It's just each individual AOE ability will have its own 3-second cooldown. That's definitely going to be less annoying than the current situation, but still, I don't think players.
Still rough.
I don't think anyone's going to be happy with that. You know.
Yeah, I mean, 3 seconds that's an eternity when you're in the middle of a fight with somebody. That's just so long.
Yeah, it really, really is. The week after that, the third week of testing, no more cooldowns. Instead, they're going to implement a global ramping cost to AoE abilities, and that is one of the more palatable solutions right there. I could maybe deal with that as long as some exceptions were made to, like, say, like jabs and other abilities that should obviously be an exception to that. But That I could maybe live with that if that's
Yeah,
the direction we went, and they kind of found the sweet spot of how much ramping it should be and figured out which abilities need to be accepted from that. I could see that being fine.
that was actually my favorite test until we get to this test you're about to talk about. But that was the one that I agree.
So okay, the week after that, week number 4, we're going to have individual AOE cooldowns and the global ramping cost. Right, so each individual AOE ability will have its cooldown, and we'll have the ramping cost thing added as well. So both those things combined.
That one seems a little bit tough as well. That might be a little rough there.
That one seems not fun. Week 5. This is the one.
Just sing it now.
This is the one that I'm so excited about. This was not on their initial list of like testing scenarios. This is a new thing, and I'm really excited about this one. This is one that many players have suggested making these changes, not even on the basis of performance, just for like combat balance and just fun's sake in Cyrodiil. So week 5, this will be October 5th through 12th. Number 1, group size will be limited to 12 players while in Cyrodiil. Excellent change. And any ally-targeted abilities only apply to group members. That sounds amazing, man. So right now, groups are capped at 24 players in Cyrodiil. And your AoE heals, you can heal anyone, whether they're in your group or not. And that's why we get these ball groups that are just absolutely unstoppable. And a lot of people suspect that does have quite an impact on performance. You have like these multiple ball groups, everyone just spamming heals over each other left and right. I could see that having an effect, absolutely. But even aside from performance, just the experience of combat, man, there's nothing you can do against those groups unless you're in a group like that. And even in that situation, it's like there's no way to like feel like you're really participating, like you're really having an effect on the outcome there. So I'm pumped about this. I know a lot of people have been asking for this as well, and who knows, it may not be the magic bullet. All right, we may try this test, and it may come to find out performance is still terrible. But I think at least the fact that we're trying it, this is the solution that everyone's been asking for. This exact specific thing is the thing everyone's been asking for. So I'm so glad that they're at least saying, okay, let's just give that a try and see if it works or not. They're just putting it in here along with all these other tests. It's so great.
Yeah, I'm okay if they just kick this test off and they say, you know what, this test is just going to be, we're just going to leave it.
We're just leaving it. Yeah, seriously.
I was actually surprised that they were kind of able to do this quickly, because they just kind of added this test on. This is a question people have asked about this or have had this idea for a long time. And I've always kind of got the feel that it would be really difficult for them to do this. So I was pleasantly surprised. They were like, okay, yeah, we'll do that. We'll throw that on the test. We'll do that in a couple weeks. I was kind of like, well, okay. I didn't know that would be that easy of a change for you, because it's live, it's on the live servers. And they're making those changes.
I wonder how much developer work went into whipping up that test scenario there. Yeah. So very excited. Just the fact that we're going to do it, just like the evidence, the proof that they've heard the feedback, they hear it, they're willing to try it. Who knows what happens after that? It just pleases me so much to see that.
Yeah.
And then there's one more test after that, week 6. Man, 6 weeks of testing in Cyrodiil. Can you believe that? On the live server. So on week 6, group size is still limited to 12. If a group member contains 6 or more players, then everyone's AoE abilities go on individual cooldowns and have escalating costs. So it's basically the same as week 5 that we were just talking about, the really, really good scenario that we were just talking about, until you hit 6 players in your group. And when you get 6 players or more, then you're in week 5, and then you're also in week 4 at the same time, right? You have the ramping cost and the individual AoE abilities having 3-second cooldowns.
That one sounds like it's like forcing people not to group. Like, don't group more than 6. It just could be a lot of groups of 5
only.
that weeks.
That could be cool, actually. Like, yeah, if everyone is like 5 groups or 5 members or less in their groups, yeah, like
Battleground Cyrodiil right there.
I could see the logic in that, trying to encourage more small scale play. It's an interesting idea. I really think that number 5 is going to be the sweet spot, but I could see why they would want to do this number 6. Like, let's say number 5 doesn't quite get us where we want to be performance wise, but number 6 does. That might be kind of the compromise we need. You don't have to get the cooldowns and the ramping costs and everything. You just got to stay in a smaller group. That's all.
Yeah. Or even like you said, if number 5 doesn't fix everything, but maybe they do number 5 and still have the ramping cost. I think all these tests, I think, give them a lot of options that, I don't know. I have hope that Cyrodiil can be fixed after these tests.
Yeah. Let's chant. Number 5. Number 5.
Go flood the forums now. Just type in number 5.
We already
5.
traveled to the future and tested it, and it's the best one. We already know. All right, I guess we're nearing the end. No emails this week, but if you'd like to send us an email, you can email us at scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. That's scrolling with an I-N, no G, scrollinpodcast@gmail.com. What sorts of emails can you send, you may ask? Well, you could ask us a question. You could tell us a joke. You could correct us on anything that we were factually incorrect about. Or just enlighten us on something, elucidate on something maybe that we touched on that you wanted to give us some more details about. Really, anything at all, anything that you think would be fun is just fine. We have a guild called Stoon's Goons. We still have plenty of spots open if you'd like to join. It's mainly a social guild with a PvP bend, but we really do a little bit of everything. And mainly what we do is just hang out in Discord, tell stupid jokes back and forth while we play ESO. Pretty much
best part.
How that goes. Yeah, that's the best part. What else? Is there anything else I'm forgetting?
I think you got it. The student shout out. That's the main thing I remind you about. So I think you got everything.
All right. I think that's going to be an episode. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time.